What's going on, my broskiis? My name is Toadski, back again, here to bring you guys yet another One Piece Treasure Cruise video. And in today's video, we're going to have a look at the Pirate Alliance Kizuna clash against Gecko Moria. We've already talked about Gecko Moria, the actual free-to-play unit, in the recent data download, but this 5+ Moria is actually incredibly good, and you should definitely be playing this Kizuna to get this guy, get him super evolved. I do think he's going to be a very, very useful character moving forward. So just wanted to preemptively say that, because this unit just seriously looks pretty good, and we don't get many free-to-play Kizuna characters these days, so the more the merrier, and this is one that you probably want to go ahead and get maxed out. Now, as it mentions here, this is a Super Boss Kizuna clash. Now, in this particular video, we're only going to be looking at the 10-star difficulty. You need to farm the 10-star difficulty to acquire the Super Boss tokens to take on the Super Boss itself. So this is just as important, to get these done, to get these teams sorted, before you take on that Super Boss, which we will also have a look at in a future video. So, without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into it and have a look at the first boss, which is going to be against the Int variation. So this team that you see here, like these units, you don't particularly need these units exactly, but this is just a couple of ideas that I had that were able to get the job done in this fight. So if we have a look at the breakdown of this fight, Shooters, Free Spirit, and Cerebral all receive the cooldown reductions, so all of these units are Free Spirit, so that's not going to be an issue. Moving on to Stage 2, something that you do have to take note of is that there is, for one turn, your top right unit is going to be silenced. Now, this is not Special Bind. This is the mechanic where you cannot swipe up or down on the unit that is silenced. It's a very big deal. So it means that your captain's effect, whether it be switch effects, captain actions, special abilities, cannot be activated. So be careful about that. Also, for 2 turns, you need to somehow have a higher chain multiplier than 2.5, otherwise you get massive chain attack down. And there's also going to be a tap timing barrier where you have to hit 4 goods in order to break through it. So to get through that, of course, when we have double Momo as our captain, he automatically launches his special at the start of the quest, so we're going to have an attack boost when we move into that stage. We're going to have some Wano slots on the Momo, but also the attack boost is super strong, but we also have the Shanks. The Shanks on this crew is very important because his special ability, it does have double special launch, and it does generate some matching slots for us, and it removes barrier by 1 turn. Very, very useful. And another reason why it's useful is because we get double special launch, which means that we will be able to use it again on the next turn on stage 3. But another thing that's important for this team is the Ace and the Luffy. Now look, these are just some random units that I picked out because if you have them, it makes the team pretty solid. But the main reason why I chose these ones is because Luffy has an orb boost that lasts for a very long time. You carry the orb boost into the final stage. Of course, with Momonosuke, he has an attack boost that lasts for quite a long time that you can carry throughout the rest of the quest. But Ace also gives you a really good chain boost. And the chain boost, you'll get an additional chain boost when you move into the next stage as well. So on stage 2, you're going to be activating Shanks, Luffy, and also Ace. Technically, you could actually use Luffy's special ability on stage 1 if you really wanted to do that as well and carry buffs all the way through. That is also an option. Now, the main reason why we do all of this, obviously with the chain buffs to get around the chain attack down, Shanks to get around the barrier, but when you are above level 31, where you get the enhanced gimmicks on this quest, in terms of what you have to deal with, your entire left column will be silenced again for 5 turns. So your left side of your crew is untouchable. You can't do anything with them. You cannot swipe up or down. You can't activate any abilities from them. So that's a really big issue. Of course, if you use the new Legend Brook, you can actually remove that, but these teams are in mind of, if you don't have Brook, what can you actually do? So this is what the idea I had for my teams are. And then also there is going to be another barrier where you have to hit him with 2 int slots in order to break it. Shanks, once again, being very useful. So Shanks on the right-hand side is unaffected by the silence effect. And there's also, if you have Strength X or Quick slots, they do less damage to him. That doesn't really matter that much. And he changes all of your slots into block, but Shanks gives you matching slots anyway, so that's not a big issue. You're allowed to inflict increased damage taken, which is why I have Bonnie on the team. Bonnie's really cool because Bonnie can actually not only inflict 1.5 increased damage taken, but she also applies a color affinity boost for Sai and fighter characters. So because the rest of the team is basically that, Shanks doesn't matter. So we get color affinity from her, and we also get the increased damage taken inflicted on the enemy. There's also bind for your bottom row, but Momo as a captain ignores the bind, so we don't really have to worry about that either. The top row is special reversed, but because Momo's attack boost lasts for such a long time, we don't really have to worry about that either. And if you activate an attack or an orb boost on the final stage, then the enemy will remove 1 turn of it. So because we have Luffy lasting for so long, we have Momo lasting for so long, this team just gets through the content and does actually a pretty sizable amount of damage, and because you're using Momonosuke, you actually get a pretty sizable EXP boost as well. So I think this team is actually not terrible for getting through this content. That free-to-play Shanks coming in super clutch for stages 2 and 3. Alright, so we're moving on to the second boss now, which is the versus quick variation. Now, despite it being a quick boss, I'm actually using just Int Uta as my main captain, because Uta deals with a lot of gimmicks, and Uta's just a very, very good captain for Kizuna Clash, just because of the way that she is designed. So, the gimmicks on this stage is on stage 2, you get a 50% health cut. Your entire left side is binded by 8 turns, so with sockets it goes down to 5, and you get a full board of block slots, which is obviously not good. So the way that we would deal around this is another thing as well, is that if you kill stage 2, he does 100,000 damage to your crew, obviously pretty nasty, because of the fact that you also get a 50% health cut. So a 50% health cut and 100,000 damage dealt to you when you kill him, pretty rough, so you need to find a way to mitigate that damage. So the way that we're doing that is we have the Uta specials as well. So Uta gives you, you know, the attack and all boost, turn progress, activated effect, all that good stuff. But the special ability of Alvida is really key here, because Alvida will go ahead and remove bind by 5 turns, and also will give you 80% damage reduction. So that's actually really, really clutch that we're able to do that. So we love that. And then we also have the chain boundary effect from Law and Kid, which is going to be really, really nice to have. Nami and Robin are kind of here just because of their crewmate ability. Their crewmate ability is really useful because it does make Dex and Int slots beneficial to the whole crew. Because with Uta and the Perispero support, we are actually going to lock the slots of our striker characters. So when we have 2 Uta specials activated, because we already have turn progress activated effect activated, then we get a full board of Int slots, and then, you know, Nami, Robin will treat them as matching. You could switch them out for anything that can just change your slots into matching is something that you could do. Now, when we reach the final stage, there is quite a lot of gimmicks here. There is chain attack down, which is why the chain boundary of Law and Kid is going to be pretty clutch for us. There is also going to be an effect where they give you a 1.1 orb boost, which is obviously really bad, but that doesn't matter because of our turn progress activated effect. There is also going to be an effect where if you activate a base attack, they remove 1 turn of it. You're allowed to delay them, surprisingly, and there is normal attacks only, top row special reverse, but Uta, it doesn't really matter with the way that works. And then once again, your left side is going to be silenced. Again, very, very frustrating. So your entire left side is untouchable. You can't do anything with them. And there is also an interrupt where if you activate a chain boundary, a chain boost, or an attack boost on the final stage, then he puts 4 turns of Threshold and 4 turns of Rainbow Shield. So this team doesn't do that, luckily, so we don't have to worry about that interrupt at all. And we do have Yamato, which can give a very significant color affinity boost to our strikers, and, you know, the final tap of her is absolutely busted. So, you know, you could potentially start her off as a quick unit, and I think you can use her super switch and then use her special that way. That probably is a better way to go about it. But this is going to be an interesting one. Even though we're not using type effective captains, I do think that the rest of the squad gets carried pretty hard because they just do so much damage, and Uta's special is so broken, and that's why I consistently have her in the top ranks of best characters in Treasure Cruise, because of how good she actually is. But yeah, that's my breakdown of the quick fight. We'll see how things go. This is not going to be my personal team against it. I'm not too sure exactly what I'm going to build for this yet, but it's going to be a tricky one for sure. So having a look at the last boss, which is versus the Psy variation this time around, we're using Queen as the captains. Now, the main reason why I wanted to use Queen is because Queen literally deals with everything on stage 2. Queen does end of turn damage, which can get around the resilience. He can remove the threshold, which is applied on the enemy side of the field, and he can change all slots to tandem. And he grants color affinity boost to our Cerebral units, which our whole team is going to be focused around Cerebral, as Free Spirit, Cerebral, and Powerhouse are the characters that all receive the cooldowns. Now, we also have Komurosaki. We'd want to use her first to generate an attack and an all boost for our int characters, just so we just do more damage. Queen, obviously, to get around all of the gimmicks for that stage. And then when we actually move into the final stage, there is one other key piece of information here, is we want to use Queen's captain actions before reaching the final stage. The main reason for that is because if we activate it before reaching the final stage, it will enable him to remove the despair that is going to be normally inflicted on our captain. So it's very, very key that we use the captain actions before heading into that last stage. Now, in terms of the other gimmicks, right? There's a 50% health cut. There's going to be special use limit, but that's not going to be a big issue because Queen has special use limit resistance, so that's fantastic for the crew. There is also going to be an effect where you can only do 70% of the enemy's max health, so you actually have to take 2 turns on this quest, unless if you have like En Mazor and can somehow abuse his full captain effect. I was considering that, but not 100% sure if that's going to be a viable option. We'll have to wait and see. There is going to be the Despair, which Queen resists because of his captain action, and there is going to be an effect where if you activate an orb boost, then it's going to be intimidated by 1 turn. So the key thing here is because we have 2 queens, we use 1 on stage 2, we're going to have 1 for stage 3. We're going to have Shanks, which gives 2 turns of attack, 2 turns of chain boost. We have the Koala and Robin character, which with their switch effect means we'll get a color affinity boost after Queen's 1 expires, but they also give a 3-turn orb boost, which goes down to 2. So you have 2-turn attack, 2-turn orb boost. We're going to have color affinity with Queen, and then after 1 turn we have color affinity again because of the Robin and Koala. And then on the turn after, so the second turn of the final stage, you'd want to activate the special of Hawkins, which allows you to just tank damage. He just allows you to nullify damage for 1 hit. So, you know, Hawkins is replaceable with any unit that allows you to just tank a bunch of damage, because when you kill the enemy, he does 150,000 damage to the crew. Obviously, you don't want to tank that, so very, very important that you find a way to mitigate some of that damage. So it's going to be interesting to see how this one works. I think this one will work really, really well. I think Queen's a good choice for this quest. But the thing about Queen that kind of sucks is he doesn't have super type or super class, which means that, you know, you don't get enhanced stats because of having, you know, additional affinity or additional statistics. But the usefulness of and the utility of his captain action of Vanish is just really, really good. So that's going to wrap it up for me. Thank you so much for watching the video. If you guys did enjoy the video, make sure you go ahead and leave a like. And if you want to stay up to date with all the content I post, including more One Piece Treasure Cruise content, make sure to hit the subscribe button down below. On that, guys, I'll see you guys within the next video.